Hello and welcome. RDS Membership is delighted to present Patrick Downes, who will give a masterclass on working from home. Pat is CEO of the Institute of Management Consultants and a partner at Lionheart. He has over 25 years' experience working across remote operations and is one of the founders of a remote working solutions consultancy called GFSP. Pat serves on the RDS Council, the Risk and Audit Committee, the Governance Committee, and he is former chairperson of the RDS Membership Committee. He is former chairperson of the Corporate Governance Association, and he sits on the alumni board at NUIG, where he is currently completing a PhD in digital communications. Without further ado, I will hand over to Pat Downes.
So thank you, Kerry, and hello, my name is Pat Downes, and I'm really pleased to be able to speak with you here today in the RDS about an activity that has very much come into the mainstream of our day-to-day lives, and that is the practice of remote working, or indeed working from home, as it has become more commonly known. So what I'm going to focus on here today is working from home specifically, and what I'm going to cover starts with a look across the landscape of where we find ourselves. I'm then going to specifically walk you through what we in GFSP call our Darwin module, which looks at the rapid evolution of best practice in this working from home space. And then, because we want to be as helpful as practical as possible, I will take you through the tips and tricks element of the equation. In terms of sound and vision and equipment, the sort of kit that you may seek to use in order to give yourself the best possible setup at a reasonable cost. I should say at the outset that this presentation is primarily aimed at getting you set up without breaking the bank, and that we do corporate modules which deliver a very different suite of solutions and options. However, that's for a different day. What I would like to leave you with here today is a few suggestions that you can adopt relatively easily, which will enhance your online engagement experience without needing to take out an overdraft. So that is to say, let us begin. At the outset, let me explain how GFSP came to be. Clearly, it mirrors our first names, and no surprise there, Grace Ann, Fergus, Sarah, and myself. But you know, what's really interesting, we have never actually physically met each other. That being said, we have worked side by side for many hours each day over the last number of months since the pandemic started, all virtually, all seamlessly. We came together out of a shared sense of purpose and a belief that we could help people struggling to adapt in this virtual world and assist them in presenting themselves in a more professional manner across the Zoomscape. Zoomscape. Now there's a new word we didn't know a few years ago. We were all upskilling and undertaking a postgraduate professional diploma in digital communications in UCD and TU, which is how we came to meet. You know, the reason I shared this story with you at the outset is that we're all in this together with a common shared experience. We, just like you, are and continue to be struggling to adapt to this new digital reality. However, we shared a common purpose and indeed a sense of optimism that there was an opportunity here, and so GFSP was born, and thankfully we have been busy ever since helping individuals and organizations in establishing workable solutions for their respective environments through online training modules and courses. What we're going to do for you here today is share some of our collective learnings and insights that we have gleaned thus far. We all now live in a hybrid world. It's fair to say, and generally accepted, that the pandemic has leapfrogged the adoption of remote working by a factor of approximately 7 years. It would seem in this case, necessity is indeed truly the mother of invention. And as part of our new product development, we maintain a watching brief in current research in the area of working from home. And some recent findings are consistent and have reflected that there are and will be more emerging issues. For example, the blurred lines between work and personal life, career regression for offsite workers, the never off syndrome 24/7, and really a big issue is wellness and loneliness, which has become manifest for people working at home. Another interesting and recent study out of the US on the state of remote work reflected that 97.6% of respondents would like to continue to work remotely at least some of the time for the rest of their careers. We all recognize that the pandemic forced many people into working from home in 2020. Even though it's a very different thing and the experience than working remotely by choice, the disruptive transition of COVID jolted the world to see the benefits of remote work. But as I said, we need to remain vigilant as there's a dark side to this at home as well. In an opinion piece she wrote for the New York Times last March, Dr. Anne-Marie Slaughter reflected that the coronavirus and its economic and social fallout is a time machine to the future. Changes that many of us predicted would never happen over decades are instead taking place in the span of weeks. And you know how right she was, as we are here in March. This time last year, on the 12th of March, almost a year later to the day, Facebook, ironically, your new neighbours here in the RDS, Google, Twitter, Cisco, Amazon, to name a few, had all introduced global remote working policies, which have now been pretty much universally adopted in one form or another by most corporates. You know, I noticed, for example, more parochially here at home, that PwC had taken the bull by the horns a few weeks back and advised all their staff that there was no requirement for them to return to the office till at least September 1st. And more parochially, the government have recently introduced Ireland's first national remote work strategy in order to make remote working a permanent option of life after the pandemic. The implications of this policy may be seismic. So folks, as I speak to you here, my fellow members of the RDS, it is very much true to say that the tectonic plates are currently and actively moving under our feet. We can actually feel and sense the pace of change occurring, and we are living it. What a time to be alive, eh? But we are all now digital pilgrims in this unholy land, and the lexicon is changing. The boys in NASA must be delighted, as hitherto we would have associated a lot of the common parlance we now hear regularly with goings on in Cape Canaveral. Mary, you have controls. Sean, we have you online. Mick, we lost you there for a minute. As if Mick was navigating the lunar module on the dark side of the moon. And you know, to a degree Mick is, as the rules are definitely changing. That tectonic shift I spoke of earlier. I don't need to elaborate on the rules of lockdown. However, one of GFSP's most popular courses is on netiquette and online behaviour, the do's and don'ts, the rules of Zoom, if you will. Not one for today, but happy to come back to it another time. Or contact us directly if you want some guidance or insights. And most certainly the path is changing. Our line of travel, our Camino, has utterly changed over the last 12 months since March 2020. The RDS is a robust organisation at over 290 years old and has seen a lot in her time, a lot of change, including the ravages of Black 47, a brace of world wars, the glassed global pandemic in 1917 and the pestilence of TB and polio in the 40s and 50s. As an entity, we are nothing if not resilient. And to that end, we will have to embrace, and here's another new word for you, the phygital world, meaning that new emerging hybrid world that exists between digital and physical. We are all now currently in this coexistence. And given the philanthropic essence of our mission, I know and I'm sure we will have a big role to play in the new and hopefully better normal. We are, so to speak, in the foothills of the Himalayas, still pilgrims with the summit in sight, and hopefully the sun at our back with some climbing still to do. That new word I mentioned, phygital, well, it's being navigated on communication platforms such as WhatsApp, Facebook, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Instagram, and more recently TikTok, as so effectively showcased by our colleagues in An Garda Síochána, and kudos to them. But make no mistake, these mediums are here to stay, and we need to adapt and become competent in their use. Look, we have all an ideal vision of what someone else's Zoom experience is like. And that vision is to an extent ideally like Grace Ann here, as she operates in a calm, cool and controlled environment. Her desk is uncluttered, plenty of natural light, her Wi-Fi is good, and broadband speed is strong. Her laptop is relatively new with a high-end spec. And you know, her environment is calm and reflective. All is good in the hood. But that's generally not the case. Our experience has reflected that most of the people we are dealing with are struggling to balance their lived reality. They have to juggle children, homeschooling, partners working beside them at the kitchen table, tables full of food and computers, noise, poor light, poor sound, poor broadband. A lot of juggling. Dogs barking, DHL delivery guys knocking. You're familiar with them all. You know, it would seem that there is a digital divide occurring as we speak, where space and good broadband become significant competitive advantages, and where a good working from home setup has certainly become a basic requirement. You know, on the plus side, multitasking skills are rocketing up the scale at an impressive rate, as Fergus here is demonstrating. But I'm being kind with this image, as we have many, many photos of people working in environments that resemble the Batcave without the gadgets, really dark and kind of, you know, not optimum experiences for the viewers. And to be totally honest, what we have been finding with our clients is that in a lot of cases, Zoom or Teams meeting can be a little bit like a seance. You choose your medium, assemble the participants, join hands, or join Zoom meeting in this instance, summon the spirit and wait for a response, and then try establish communications. And we've become very familiar with those terms in virtual meetings. Can you hear me? Do we have everyone on here? Can you see me? Is there anyone out there? So the number one phrase of 2020, and probably, to be honest, 2021, is you're on mute. And what I'm going to speak to you now about is that key element which mitigates mute, sound. We're going to walk through headsets, microphones, and speakers. Headsets, what you need to know. Well, the good news is that you don't have to break the bank to get a reasonable solution here. In terms of wired headsets, we would say from a professional meeting point of view, they are probably your preferred go-to option, insofar as they are readily available and you can generally fulfill the dual role of mic and headset. If you're willing to pay a few more euro, you can encompass a noise cancellation option. But to be honest, we feel that relative to the price, the noise cancellation option is not vital in the first instance. The debate is really over wired and wireless. Well, you get what you pay for. One thing to be aware of is that there may be some lag in the wireless earpods and headsets, and unless you are going up to the premium end of the market, you are best served by staying with the wired option as it is. It guarantees continuous and seamless audio transmission, and I'd have to say it's fit for purpose. To that end, I would also say that local suppliers are very efficient and price competitive in this space, so we would always say support local where feasible. That said, Amazon is a great backup option, although you may wish to rotate to amazon.de to avoid the implications of post-Brexit cost increases. Food for thought, plenty of options, but bear in mind that headsets are now a bit like shoes, and you will be spending a lot of time with them on, so factor in comfort and fit when purchasing. In terms of microphones, there are a number of options. The good news is that 99% of modern computers have mics now built in as standard. That said, our research has shown with our clients that one of the most consistently annoying issues that arises is that our poor and annoying sound quality. There's nothing worse than listening to someone who is poorly mic'd for an extended conversation or presentation. You can really help yourself quite easily in this department by either the headset option, which we've discussed, or indeed using a pedestal mic or lapel mic. Now, the good news is that, again, virtually all new mobile phones are sold with a set of earphones, and they include a mic, and they are generally quite good and fit for purpose. However, you want to up your game a bit, and you're speaking a lot, we would really recommend that you consider going for a pedestal mic. These range but start from about 25 to 30 euros. And to be honest, if you're online in a professional capacity, we would recommend you go a little upmarket. Our tip here would be the Blue Yeti, and this is one here which I'm about to show you. So this is a Blue Yeti, very nice bit of kit, very compact, delivered for about 99 euros. It plugs into a laptop very seamlessly in terms of just goes in like that. Remember, if it's an Apple Mac, you're going to need a connection for a C-Suite connection, but absolutely seamless and works perfectly. Strong recommendation. It's a game-changing piece of kit in terms of your sound quality and enhances how people engage with you on the receiving end. Now, by the way, we have a list of kit and the sites where you can get them available. And if you drop us an email, we will send that on to you after the presentation, or perhaps indeed we could use Kerry's good offices to facilitate this. So again, with speakers, it's fair to say that most computers and laptops now come with inbuilt speakers as standard. Whilst not as vital as microphones, nonetheless, it is worth considering, especially if you're, for example, listening to classical music while you work. And as I speak to you here from the hallowed RDS Concert Hall, I have to assume that it's not outside the realms of possibility for RDS members to be listening to a spot of music. So there are a few options in this space. Our recommendation is the bar speaker, which you can see behind me, purely from a utilitarian point of view, as they fit neatly behind your laptop, or indeed your computer. Now, I have to say I regularly see good offers in the German discounters and indeed the multiples for Bluetooth speakers, which I can find no fault with. For example, I bought these ones a few weeks ago for under 25 euros. Very simple, Bluetooth, plug and play, couldn't beat it, and the sound is excellent quality on it. And for that sort of price point, why wouldn't you indeed? So they are also handy for another piece of kit, which I'll come on to in a moment, which I'd like to talk to you about. It's a Facebook piece of kit. So this is our Sarah working from home in a state of perfect bliss and harmony. The very essence of a Zen mistress, our Sarah. She has her headphones on, she has her laptop on her lap, her coffee good to go, and she is working away effortlessly. It's all good in the hood, or is it? Couple of points to note here. Beware coffee and laptops. They are a combination that don't mix well together. And if disaster strikes, no harm to have checked that your household insurance covers the increased amounts of IT hardware you are now routinely working with at home. Separately, I draw your attention to Sarah's glasses, and I will come back to them a little bit later. But the main point here is, from a posture point of view, Sarah is laying in the potential of significant ongoing back pain down the line. Folks, let me tell you, ergonomics are important. In this hybrid world we are living in, do yourself a big favor. Invest in a decent office chair. You can shop around and get a decent piece of kit for well under €100 now, and we would highly recommend you doing so. If you do nothing else from this presentation, do this. And there is nothing worse than nagging, ongoing lower back pain, especially if it could have been avoided. Our top tip here is to consider, like investing in a spot of preventative maintenance, I guess. It's money well spent, trust me. As an observation, we don't recommend a big bang approach to getting your equipment sorted, and we would suggest you do it over a staggered period of a few weeks or indeed months. But do put a plan in place and work your way through it. Which brings me on to vision. Now, how we look to our fellow members on the other side of the screen is very, very important. This is the number one area where we get requested for assistance. Well, help is at hand. Again, virtually all computers and mobile phones now come with cameras built in. However, they all come with varying levels of performance. The newer mobile phones are generally very, very good, and there is no reason you can't use one with a tripod as your camera option connected to your laptop. As to be honest, and let's face it, the majority of laptop cameras are not great. That's a viable option. That said, we would recommend you cut to the chase and buy a webcam. Prices for a decent entry-level model are from about €25, so it's not a big purchase, and it will significantly up your visual presence. Bear in mind, when you're buying, to get a 1080 HD spec, and ideally one with an aperture cover so as to allow you cover it when not in use. Hot tip here is also to clean the lens regularly. I know it's obvious, but by simply cleaning your lens, you can improve the picture by up to 30 to 40%. And just before I talk to you about webcams, I would just like to mention Facebook Portal, which is a really great bit of intuitive kit. Easy to use, especially for older folks and for engaging with family and friends. And we're amazed by the amount of grandparents, for example, that are using this in particular for their family communications. Well worth checking out, not too expensive, and a very nice solution. Okay, so what's our top tip in the webcam space? I'm just going to show you one here right now. So the one that we would recommend is the Logitech 930 HD 1080. It runs to just under €100, but it's a game changer in terms of how you look online, and we know a lot of professionals have transitioned to this piece of kit. And its quality is really top drawer, and it's built-in autofocus and soft lighting and so on. And as my wife would say, a lady can never have enough soft lighting. It enhances depth and quality of what your viewers see. And, you know, it's a tidy piece of equipment and quite compact. So we would highly recommend that. Which brings me on to ring light webcams. This is another top tip. Just simply buy one. Light is another huge issue. The number of people we regularly see who have a window behind them with harsh light streaming over their shoulders is still unbelievable. You need to face the laptop cover towards the window and not have the window behind you. However, if you don't have the luxury of natural light, then a ring light is your friend. This young fella was less than €25. It's a really, really powerful piece of kit. You just place it on top of your laptop and it gives you a very powerful kind of soft lighting focus and really assists you in terms of how you come across on the camera. Again, buy one. It's very flexible, very mobile, and it's self-financing in terms of the way it works. You know, it's ease of use and ease of access that we're looking for here, and these are readily accessible. Nora, in the next slide, gives us an example of how ring lights are really coming to the fore, and they're much beloved by influencers, particularly in the work that they do. As you can see, the camera is focused at her. That's a rather big ring light, but it gives you an idea of how that whole process works. So our hot tip, buy a ring light. Another really great piece of kit, which we would highly recommend, is the laptop stand. And you can pick one up on the net for 25 euros or so. And a big shout out to Joe Houghton in UCD for this tip. It's really, really great. And if you're not familiar with them, we'd strongly urge you to buy one. It's a highly mobile piece of kit to boot. And I'm just going to show you how that works. So for example, you just open, in the first instance, it's very small. It opens out like this, very simple to use. We put it here, and I'll just give you a very quick demonstration. You pop your laptop on it like that, and Bob's your uncle. You have a very good ergonomic position for either reading, typing, doing whatsoever you wish. Strongly recommend it, highly flexible, highly mobile, under 25 euros, game changer in terms of your economic health, or ergonomic health, forgive me. So you'll notice in the slides that Fergus is wearing a pair of sunglasses. Well, one of Sarah's top tips is invest in a pair of blue light glasses. Given the amount of time we are spending on screen, it makes perfect sense when you think about it. And on personal evidence, the use of these glasses certainly helps with reduction in headache due to overexposure to screen time, and also enhances the quality of sleep. So go get yourself a pair. They're readily available. Indeed, Specsavers are doing them now. And as I said at the outset, there is a dark side to working from home. And aside from this current enforced aspect of our shared experience, it can be very, very stressful at home. This is just a simple fact of life, and one needs to be of a resilient frame of mind to navigate through these turbulent waters. And we need to be patient and kind with each other. This digital pivot is causing huge disruption in our lives, to the very core of our essence. And there are multifaceted mental health issues beginning to manifest themselves across all spectrums of society. One of our partners focuses on digital wellness, and she finds it helps to realize you are not alone. And indeed, you are not. Everyone is struggling at some point of the compass in this space. There is help out there. Indeed, we are here to help, if needs be. In any event, I want to conclude by thanking Kerry and her colleagues for having us here this afternoon, and for all the hard work they have done throughout the pandemic. You know, it hasn't been easy for them, and I'm optimistic for the future for the RDS. And you know, I'm already looking forward to the 300th birthday celebrations in a few years' time. In the meantime, Macara Galair, stay safe and well and out of harm's way till you get the jab. And if you have any questions, please contact Kerry or her team directly, or indeed email us at hello@gfsp.ie. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Pat, for a really practical overview. There were some really, really great tips there. RDS Membership organises a range of online events for members throughout the year. Details of these events are available on the members area of our website. If you're not a member and you would like to join the society, please email join@rds.ie. Thank you.